Just to check, can you hear me okay?
Yep, I can hear you.
Perfect.
Oh, wait, we've got people jumping on right now, so I'll give it a couple minutes.
All right.
All righty. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Good evening. Thanks for joining. I know we've got a couple people probably still going to be jumping on. But just as a reminder, we will have this whole webinar recorded. We will send this out to an email, everybody who's registered. So if you're late or you need to jump off or anything, this will be sent out to everybody, so you won't miss anything. But yeah, so thanks everybody for joining. My name is Jessica Peak. I'm the marketing event coordinator here at First Federal. We're one of the largest mutually owned banks here in the Midwest, and we are on a mission to help people build a better financial future through financial literacy, personal banking and lending, and mortgage lending. So this month is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So we are diving right into best practices to help you keep your personal information safe from scammers online. Here with us today is our digital banking team lead, Jennifer Higgins. She's going to lead today's conversation. She graduated in 2007 from the University of Kansas. She joined the banking industry the year after that, and she's been with First Federal since 2016, and she just recently earned her ABA Digital Banker Certificate. So welcome, Jennifer, and thank you so much for leading us today.
Thanks, Jessica. I'm so excited to be here with everyone today. Of all the roles I've held in banking, digital banking lead has been my favorite so far. I love that I get to work with my coworkers and consumers, and I get to really help build that bridge, that gap between old world banking and new world innovations. So part of my role as digital banking lead is arming our customers with cybersecurity guidelines to best protect yourselves, your financial life online. So during this webinar today, I'm going to share a few steps that you can take right away to ensure your devices are protected and review the signs of potential scams so you can spot fraudsters early. So today, like I said, we're going to go over how to protect your personal financial information. We're going to review the most common cybersecurity hazards, and then we're going to go over best practices for when you are using the First Federal online banking and the mobile app, and really just your online life in general. So the very first thing that I think we tend to forget is that you have to keep your device secure. I know it's so easy to just hand your phone over to someone because they need to order an Uber or they're going to send you something or they just want to look at something on your phone. But you never really know who's going to have access to your device. And you might trust this person with your entire life, but you don't know who they're around or what websites they might be visiting on your device. So you always want to make sure that you are the only one who has access to your device, because if you're anything like me, your phone has your entire life on it. So someone who gains access to your phone could literally access your entire life just like that. So as part of keeping your device secure, you want to make sure that you are using passcodes and biometrics whenever available. So passcodes, I know we're all so sick of those by now. Usually like a 4 to 8 digit code that you have to enter every time you access something. And then biometrics are those the face IDs or your thumbprint. So you definitely want to make sure that you are taking advantage of that, because it would be very hard for someone to fake your face or your thumbprints. Something else that we all need to make sure that we are very, very familiar with is how to remotely wipe your device if you have found out that you've lost your tablet or lost your phone. This is specific to the type of device you use. So iPhones, Androids, they have their own process. But basically, you're going to be going on to your device or your iPhone or your Android, going on to their cloud-based services to access your device and turn it off to wipe it, so that if someone does find it, they cannot access your information. So I really do advise that you make sure that you are aware of how to do that. So if you find out in that moment, oh no, I left my phone somewhere, wipe it as soon as possible. That will protect you so quickly. Next thing that I know I am quick to forget is that we really need to make sure we're only using trusted apps on our phone. It's so easy to see an app pop up and like, oh my God, that looks really cool, especially if it's a game and you're bored. But it is really easy for someone out there to make up a fake app and to trick you into downloading it. So one of the best ways to make sure you're using trusted apps is to make sure that you really are only getting it from the iPhone App Store or from the Google Play Store. They do have to go through a pretty intensive screening process just to get to those places. So you are much better protected in those instances. Obviously, always use your own common sense. Make sure it makes sense to you before you download it. No matter how fun that game looks, it might not be worth it. The last thing to really make sure that you're protecting yourself right off the bat is updates. I know they're super annoying. They can take forever, but most updates on our phone's operating system these days are security patches. So it's Android or iPhone, Apple identifying that there is a hole in their security and they have built a fix for it. So you need to make sure that if you're not using automatic updates, that as soon as you get that notification that there is an update ready, get that scheduled, get it on your phone, protect yourself. All right, so for the most common hazards that you find online, and this is one that I think a lot of people get caught up with, is the domain name. Is this really the website you want it to be on, or does it kind of look like the website you want it to be on? For instance, our website here at the bank is ffbkc.com. So it might say firstfedbankkc.com. So yeah, it looks a lot like our website, but it's not our website. It is not us. You should not be on that website. If someone sent you that, not good. So it's just really careful. It's really important that we're careful paying attention to those names to make sure that it truly is the website that you want to be on. And as part of that, website address that you're seeing at the top of your screen, make sure when you're online, you are seeing the lock and that you are seeing the HTTPS. Very important. That's another way of your computer telling you, yes, this is a good, secure website. It's safe for you to be on. And then something that I know used to be a huge issue way back when was pop-up windows. It used to be every time you were scrolling online, every time you opened something, there would just be a million pop-up windows. Well, luckily, our browsers have really done a great job at protecting us from these pop-up windows, which is awesome. You just get that little red thing at the top telling you that your pop-up was blocked, you're safe, you're good. However, they can still happen, so we need to make sure that we're being really careful with those, because those pop-ups can actually be a fraudster's way of tricking you into clicking on something that you shouldn't be. Now, there are situations where a pop-up window might be perfectly legitimate and absolutely okay for you to open. For example, if you were to go to First Federal's online banking or our mobile app and you wanted to look at your statement under document, it is going to pop up in a separate window as a PDF document so you can read it, save it, print it, anything. That is a perfectly acceptable pop-up. You definitely want that to come through. Once you've made sure that that really is from First Federal, that is a pop-up, that is good. Also, if you use the First Federal bill pay, that does pop up in a separate window. Again, perfectly okay, acceptable, it's supposed to happen that way. So those are two cases where it is okay to use a pop-up window, but most of the time, nothing good is going to happen from a pop-up window. So we just want to completely ignore those. As part of that, also, when you're being told to download something, is it really something you should be downloading? Is it something that's just popping up on your screen saying, hey, download me? If that's the case, then no, don't download me. It's bad. They're trying to get access to your computer because you're clicking on this link. So we really want to make sure we are expecting to go to a download. So we have gone to a website. We know that we need to update something on our computer. We know we are there to download something. That's okay. If it just pops up on your screen, you're looking at a recipe or you're looking at a news blog or something, and you get a pop-up telling you to download something, don't download it. It's not good. You don't want it. Also, as part of that, really be careful with clickbait. Those ads that pop up or that news article that reads something really juicy, some really good tea that you really want to read. It looks so important. And by important, it has nothing important at all. It's just really fun and you want to know it. More often than not, it's absolutely clickbait. If you click on it, they are going to take you to a website that a fraudster has built, and you have just given them access to your computer, your tablet, your phone, anything that you just clicked on. So no matter how good that clickbait looks, that little window that pops up, and if you read this, you're going to find out why Sophie Turner and Joe Jonas are getting divorced. Don't click on it. It's not going to take you anywhere good, no matter how impressive it looks. It's just not worth it. Another way to help protect yourself from things like pop-up windows, downloads, and clickbait is anti-malware software, which I know is a big mouthful, but it's so important to your online life these days. So using those programs built by reputable companies, for instance, McAfee, they have programs that are built to protect you online, protect your phones, protect your tablets, protect your computers. They will come and they won't come to you. You can put them on your device and they will scan, they'll look for anything that's been put on your computer that you did not want there. Is there someone who's tracking your computer? Is there someone who has tried accessing your computer? And again, this can be used on your tablet and on your phone these days. So it's so important that you're using those and not just using them, but just like doing your phone updates, make sure that you are updating your anti-malware software, because again, there are going to be periodic updates where they've identified an issue and they fixed it and made the program stronger. So definitely want to make sure you are using those and using them to your fullest so that you are as protected as possible online. The last step to this online hazards is avoid public Wi-Fi and computers as much as possible. I know it's really hard. You're out at the store and you don't have any signal and you've got to jump online to find a coupon or find that email. So we just click on that public Wi-Fi, jump on real quick, and we're going to our bank app and entering our information, or going to our email and typing in our password. It might be perfectly safe, but if there is someone who is logged onto that public Wi-Fi and they are looking to do something bad that day, they could have just gotten access to all of your information because they were on that same public Wi-Fi you were. You really want to be careful if you do have to do that. Don't log on to anything personal, anything financial. Get in, get out, turn it off as soon as possible just to keep yourself protected. Same thing with public computers. The libraries are amazing, and it is so easy to go in and ask to use the library. And sometimes that's the only way we have access to a computer some days. Perfectly fine, nothing wrong with that. But if you are using a library computer or a public computer to access anything personal or access your email, anything where you are entering in a password or a biometric code, anything, you need to make sure that you are completely logging out of that session and then that you are wiping that out of the memory on that website before you leave the computer. So important, because if someone comes in behind you and you haven't closed out or you haven't wiped out your information, depending on how smart that person is, they might be able to just get in behind you and log into your information. So be as careful as possible. Absolutely nothing wrong with using a public computer. Just make sure you're taking those extra steps to protect yourself in those instances. All right, phishing and privacy. Phishing, I know every time I say this, people look at me like I'm crazy. I'm not talking about going down to the creek with grandpa, getting your pole and, telling tall tales about way back when he was a kid and he had to walk 10 miles to school in the snow, uphill both ways somehow. Um, what we are referring to is the online practice of people actually phishing for your information. So, financial data is considered the most valuable to scammers. Used to be, we only thought about, are they getting our name, our social security number, our date of birth, because then they can go and open financial things in your name. But now all they really need to be able to do is get your email, your username, your password, and they've just gotten access to all your finances online. So it's one of the number one commodities that they're looking to get out of you is your financial data, because then they can go anywhere and do anything off of your back. So part of protecting yourself on this is minimizing details on social media. It's so easy to log on and log into Facebook or Instagram, or I'm showing my age here. I don't know all of the different sites that people use these days. But it's so easy to just want to share, where you are. You're out with your friends, you're on vacation, you're with your kid or your dog, you're in your hometown. It's so easy to want to go and share those things, but there are fraudsters who are coming in and looking at that information and they're storing it and they're remembering it. So when they get your email address or they figure out your username, then they've got information to go in and they can get your password so much more easily. So we really want to make sure that when we are on social media, we are not only protecting ourselves for financial needs, but just personally protecting yourself. You don't want to be putting your location at all times. You don't want to be putting where you live, where you work, what you do, your family members' names, even your animals' names, just because it's something that someone could use against you at some point in time. So we just want to make sure that we are being as safe as possible and being careful with what we're putting out there. I do also recommend check your privacy settings. Make sure that you know who is able to see your information. I know a lot of us have public personas these days, so obviously we want those to be able to be accessed by anyone. But when it comes to your private pages, your private information, be really careful who has access to that information, because not everyone needs to be in on those day-to-day details of your life. All right, spam is not only a delicious treat that comes out of a can, it's also a really dangerous email tactic, even text message tactic these days, where fraudsters will send you an email, a text message, just to try and trick you once again into clicking on something. Excuse me. So I really recommend, everyone really recommends using your filters for spam. Our emails have gotten so much more sophisticated to where like Gmail, AOL, all of those, they can actually go through and they can tell you what messages are most likely to be untrustworthy or most likely to be spam. Trust those filters. They are there for a purpose. They're not always going to be right. For instance, our no reply emails from First Federal, for whatever reason, Gmail just loves to send them over to promotions. They are good emails, I promise, but Gmail just doesn't like to have them come into your inbox for whatever reason. So it's a really good example of how sometimes they can be perfectly safe, but just use a little extra precaution. Make sure you know what you're clicking on. Same with text messages these days. Something that we've been noticing a lot here at the bank is that sometimes our customers' text messages or our verification codes that we send out, because that's coming from a number that's not saved into your address book, your phone is actually identifying it as an unknown contact and potentially from an untrusted source. So make sure that you are aware of the fact that your phone might have an extra inbox that's for messages from people that you don't know. Again, sometimes, yeah, you absolutely don't want those messages. Your phone did great, delete them, you're good. But sometimes it's a good message, like your first federal bank verification code. So you want to make sure that you are getting your known senders saved to your address book, so that those will come in the proper spot. So something else with emails are the images that come in on an email. I don't know about you guys, but it drives me absolutely nuts when I get an email and it is covered in like the red box with a little white thing that says image blocked. Click here if you want to see the image. It drives me nuts. I hate that. However, it's actually a way that, again, our email is trying to protect us. Within that image, there might be a link or something that a fraudster is using to try and get information out of us. So they have blocked those images unless we are 100% certain that we know who the person is, whoever is sending this to us. And so then it will be safe to send it. So make sure you are using those filters on your email just to add a little extra layer of precaution. So as part of this, we have those phishing emails that we talked about. The fraudsters will just send them out and they'll look to see who they catch. So a lot of the times it's going to be something where like your bank account's about to be frozen, you need to click here and put in your information. Or it's going to be something that has like a really weird subject line. For instance, I got a fraudulent email earlier this week that was telling me about furries. I could not tell you why, but I knew right away there is absolutely no reason that anyone legitimate would be sending me that email. So I knew right away, fake email, I deleted it, we were good. Something else you need to be careful for are typos in your emails. Again, First Federal Bank of Kansas City, FFBKC, we're pretty good at spelling our name. And if not, we've got a great spell check out there. So it's got to catch it before we send out that email. So we're not going to send out an email that calls us First Federal of Bank of Kansas City. It's going to be pretty easy to see if that didn't come from us. So definitely want to make sure you're kind of reading through that email, looking for those simple things like why would we misspell our own name? Why would we misspell the city that we live in? Those sorts of things. You also want to be careful of links in an email. Anytime you're seeing an email that has a whole bunch of links in it, that should be a really big red flag. Why are they wanting me to click on this email? What the fraudsters will do is they will have you click on that link. It'll take you to a website that looks really similar to our website, but it's not. Think back to that example of First Fed Bank of KC. It's not the FFBKC website, but it looks a lot like us. They're going to spoof your online banking information, and it's going to look like you're logging into your normal online banking, but you're not. You're logging into something that has been set up by a fraudster. So be really careful anytime you're clicking on a link in an email. Think to yourself, why am I getting this? Did I request this link? For instance, if you were trying to log into online banking, you had a moment and you forgot your password. You clicked on forgot your password, you entered your email address, you are expecting to get an email with I reset your password link within the email. Absolutely okay to open that email, you knew it was coming. If you are going about your life, you haven't looked at online banking for a couple of days, and all of a sudden you get an email requesting that you reset your password, stop, don't pass go, do not open that email. There is something wrong with that email. So with this, we just want to make sure that we are being cautious. Be aware anytime someone is requesting that you click on something, is requesting that you enter information, or there's just like a lot of busyness on that page. Always stop and ask yourself, does this make sense? Did I request this? Did I expect this to be there? If you didn't, stop, don't click on it, call the bank, call anyone that you trust who can let you know, yes, this is real, no, this is not. All right. So the most important thing, and probably the thing that drives us most crazy, are passwords. I know I get at least one phone call a week telling me how much people hate passwords. Because you have to have a password for everything now. I can't think of a single thing I do online that doesn't have at least a password. And not only that, but now they all have really weird requirements, like an uppercase letter and a lowercase letter and a number and a special character. And then sometimes you can't have a special character on the end, it has to be on the middle. You can't reuse the same letters. Everyone is just getting kind of crazy with those requirements. The thing is, it's really good that they are. The more strict that they are with that password requirement, the safer you are. So I know it's really frustrating. It's very annoying when you have to try and remember 30 different passwords and 30 different combinations, but it's really important. And especially, we want to think about keeping our passwords a little bit longer. I know it's really easy to just type in 4 digits and move on with your life, but really the recommended length is between 8 to 15 to 32 characters, even, because it just makes it that much harder for a fraudster to guess what your password actually is. Also, and I know this is a huge pain point for people, myself included, is using random combinations of numbers and letters. It makes it a lot harder to remember, but again, it makes it a lot harder to guess. So it's all about keeping ourselves protected. And as annoying as it is for us, think of how annoying it is for the guy who's trying to break into your financial information or get into your email. You just made their life a lot harder, and that is exactly what we want. So, as part of this, do not use the same password for everything. This is a fight I have a lot with my own family. Again, it's so much easier to use the same password and just change a couple of things. But if someone guesses your password and you use the same password on all of your banks, all of your social media, everything, they just got access to everything. So we want to make sure that we are using a different password for every single thing. I know it's not fun, but it's really important to do that just to protect yourself. And again, make it a lot harder for the guy who's trying to break into your email or break into your bank account. Something that is really helpful for remembering all of your 30 passwords that you have to enter throughout the day is a password manager. There are a lot of different versions out there. Some of the most common are going to be like cloud-based or a single sign-on. It might even be like an Excel spreadsheet that you use that's password protected. Whatever you use is perfectly fine. It's most important that you are comfortable with using it, as long as you are being cautious and you are protecting yourself. Don't write it down. Don't store it on a notepad on your phone. I know it can be easy, but again, someone gets access to your phone, someone gets access to that note. They've just gotten everything. Don't make it easier on the fraudster. Make it as hard as possible. And again, don't share your password. I know it's really easy. Someone just wants your password for Netflix, so they want your password for Hulu or, anything. But if you're using the same password for everything and you give them that one password, they just got access to everything. And maybe you're giving it to the most trusted person in your entire life. You know they would never do anything with your information. But what if their phone, what if their tablet, what if their computer has been compromised? As soon as they put in your information, you've been compromised as well. So just make sure you're being really careful, never share it. Also, don't give your password to a bank employee. We don't want it. We don't need it. We can't see it. We have zero access to see your password. So if you get a phone call from someone and they're saying, tell me your password, I just want to verify it, in the call, it's not legitimate. We cannot see your password. We don't want it. I have a hard enough time remembering my passwords. Please don't make me have to try and remember yours too. It's not going to happen. So no one will ever legitimately ask you for that password, and never ever send that password through a text, through an email, anything that can be written down, saved, screenshot, image, picture, anything. Again, we want to make it as hard as possible on the fraudster, not as easy as possible. So just make sure you're doing everything that you can. Keep that password safe. As part of keeping your passwords safe, we need to keep our email safe as well. I am really bad about entering my email address every time someone asks for my email address. I personally am a crafter, so I get a lot of patterns online. And so someone's like, hey, give me your email and sign up for my free pattern club. And I'm like, yes, please. So I go and do that, and it's awesome. But what if that person's website has been compromised? Or what if they are hacked at some point and someone gets access to all of their customers' email address? Well, that means they just got access to your email. So we want to make sure that we're being really careful with how we use that email address and who we give it to. Something that I recommend and something that I personally do is use different email addresses for different things. For instance, I use a different email for my financial stuff than I use for my patterns. And then I use for like just giving it out when I go to a store. You know, if you sign up with your free email address and you get the free coupon. So yes, of course I want the free coupon, but I don't want that to be the same email that my bank information goes to, because if that gets accessed, then I could have just given someone access to everything I have. A really good example that I have is a couple of months ago, there was a really big scam where Instagram got hacked and a whole bunch of people's emails were compromised. Well, we had a couple of customers who used their personal email address on Instagram, but they also use it on their bank account. So when Instagram got hacked, they got access to their email account, which meant they got access to their financial accounts. So we really want to make sure we are keeping things separate and that we are using different passwords, because we let them into one point, we might have just let them into everything. So just as another part of that, if you believe your email has been compromised, if your social media has been compromised, change your password. Immediately, that should always be your first go-to. As soon as you suspect someone might have gotten access, change your password. It is the best way to protect yourself and stop them from gaining access again. Don't just wait and see what happens. Change your password. All right, multi-factor authentication, also known as MFA or two-factor authentication, has been a really big thing lately. I'm sure most of you have at least one thing that you log into that asks you to do another form of verification. So it's really just another layer of security that you enter in on top of your username, your password, and then your multi-factor authentication. The purpose of that is, when it's used together with those things, is to really keep you as safe as possible. I know it can be really frustrating and super annoying when you type in your username and your password, and then you have to get your code, and then you have to go grab your phone or go get into your email and grab that code. But it's really something that is being done to protect you. The idea behind it is that what are the chances that someone is going to have your username and your password and have access to your cell phone so that they can enter in that information. So it all ties together into keeping your email safe, keeping your password safe, keep your device secure so that no one can access it. So it is so important that you're using that multi-factor or two-factor information just to really keep yourself protected and to prevent cyber criminals from being able to make it past those layers. They might be able to get past the username and the password, but the chances that they're going to be able to get past that multi-factor authentication code that's been sent to your phone is much smaller, as long as you're keeping that device secure. All right. So first, federal digital banking. So I'm just going to jump on in and say the best way to protect your first federal digital banking is use that multi-factor authentication, and make sure that you are keeping your multi-factor authentication devices up to date. So what I mean by that is, we do require that your multi-factor authentication goes to your phone, either as a text message or a phone call. So sometimes we change those numbers, sometimes we're in different locations, we have different access to phone numbers, not a problem. Make sure you keep those up to date in your digital banking. With us, you can do that online and through the app. You can enter in as many numbers as you want. It can be work, home, cell, does not matter as long as you have access to it. And ideally, you personally are the only one who has access to it. So we don't want to be using a phone number that could ring to like 20, 30 other people. A, because what if someone else gets that call and you don't get it? But B, on the off chance that someone could get through your password, your username, and they're able to figure out that your phone rings to that desk over there. If they get to that desk before you do, they just got access to all your information. So make sure you're keeping those numbers up to date and make sure that you are the only one who has access to those. As part of keeping those numbers up to date, you also want to make sure that you are going online and making sure that your contact information is as current as possible. We all have points in our lives where we're moving around a lot, we're changing our information a lot, not a problem. With First Federal Digital Banking and mobile banking, you can log into the app or the website, change all of your information right there. As soon as you submit that change, it comes right back to the bank and we're updated. So if we need to call you, we need to send you an email, we need to send you a letter, we have the most recent information, best way to contact you. I recommend going in every couple of months and just making sure that you've got everything. Some people, they haven't moved in 20 years, not a problem. Still a good idea to go ahead and double check just to be on the safe side. Only takes a couple seconds, but it can really save your life down the road if someone were to get access to your digital banking or your mobile app and try to change your information. If you're keeping an eye on it, it's going to be a lot harder for them to get that access. If at any time you believe that you might have been compromised, stop, don't go forward, call the bank. We want to protect you as much as possible. So if you believe you've been compromised, call us, come and see us. We're going to ask you a couple of questions, and we're going to try and figure out, could they maybe have just gotten access to your digital banking? Did they get access to your email? And we're going to try and figure out if someone has truly gotten access to your online life, how much did they get access to? So if you ever feel like you've been compromised, do not just wait and see if something happens. Stop. Let's reassess the situation. Let's see what we need to do to protect you. We never want to give someone that opportunity to get access, because anyone who has experienced online fraud, your money can be gone like that. And while we're going to work with you to get it back, that time period is very scary, and who knows what you might be missing in that time between when they took it and when we get it back to you. So just take those few extra seconds to go ahead and stop, call the bank. If you think it might be a situation where maybe it's just like your username or your password that's been compromised, you can actually just go ahead and change that yourself, again, through the digital banking app. Through the digital banking website or through the mobile banking app. Same place you would go to update your address or your phone number. You can go ahead and just update your username and password anytime that you need to, and not a problem. You don't have to tell us before you do it. We'll be updated, but it's just a really great way to keep yourself safe. If you feel like something might have happened, go ahead and just take those few seconds and just add an extra layer of precaution, peace of mind for yourself. And again, as a reminder, never, ever, ever share your login information with anyone. Family, friends, bank employees, never share it. They never need to know it. This is part of why First Federal is very adamant that we do not share logins with family members. So it might be two people are on the same account and they might be all on the exact same account, but we do require that each person has their own login. And it's just another security measure that we have just to keep you protected. Because again, thinking that person might be someone who is very trustworthy, who would never ever do anything to hurt you or your finances. But what if someone has accessed their device or their computer? What if they have been compromised? It's just another way to protect you. There is also no legitimate reason why anyone is going to ask that they send you money and then you send money back to them. This is one of the most common scams that's been around at least since I've been in banking, so since 2008, where someone will send you a check and it's going to be maybe even just a couple $100s more than they told you it would be. Hey, not a problem. We made a mistake. Just send us this back as gift cards, or send us a transfer, or send us a money order or a check. No, don't do it. They know that this is a fraudulent check. They know that by the time you have a chance to really figure out what's going on, the bank is going to realize it's a fraudulent check, but they already have gotten their money because you sent them a money order or a transfer, or you sent them a picture of a gift card and they took that number and they drained that gift card. So be really careful. There is never any legitimate reason for someone to do that. Someone ever says they're going to give you a check and send them money back, stop. It's a scam. Don't do it. As part of that, we need to be really careful about who we meet online, who we talk to online, especially if they're ever mentioning anything about your online banking or finances. Another one of the biggest scams that I've seen in my time in banking is romance scams. And it's just as awful as it sounds. Someone tricks you into believing that they're in love with you. They just need a little help. They need you to send them some money for bills, or their money is locked up in something else and you need to help them access it. I'm sorry, no matter how good it sounds, it's not true. Please don't fall for it. No one should ever be asking you to do those things online, especially if it's someone you haven't met in person. Ask yourself again, does this make sense? So definitely don't do it. And especially if someone online is asking you for any of your online information, why do they need it? There's legitimately no reason for them to need it. Don't do it. Cut off contact. They're not your friend. They're not someone who cares about you. Don't do it. They don't need it any more than anyone else. There's absolutely no reason for them to have that information. Also, if you are trying to get a loan and your loan company has asked if they can access your online banking, stop. It's not legitimate. No loan company is ever going to ask for your username and password. The reason for that is any legitimate loan company needs a paper trail. They need to know why they're sending you the money, where they're sending it to. They need to know what your repayment plan is. They are never going to log into your online banking and give you the money that way. Not going to happen. Doesn't make sense. Usually what they're doing in that scenario is they are moving money from one of your accounts to the other account, making you believe that they have just given you that money. And then 9 out of 10 times, they're going to ask for something back. Or they're going to ask for your online information so they can deposit a check for you. Unfortunately, no one legitimate is ever going to need to deposit a check for you using your online banking information. Not going to happen. What we see a lot in those scenarios is they are depositing a fraudulent check to make it look like they're giving you money, and you just gave them access to all your information. Not going to happen. Loan companies just don't work that way. They need their legitimate paper trail. As part of that, if someone emails you a check, it's already signed on the back of it, or they typed on the back of it. Don't deposit that check. It is a fraudulent check. No one legitimate is ever going to do that to you. All right, so this is a really great segue into the last thing I would like to bring up right now, which is protecting yourself from check fraud. Check fraud seems so old-fashioned. Anyone who has seen Catch Me If You Can knows everything there is to know about check fraud, right? You know, he washes the checks in the bathtub and he gets the stickers off the plane. As silly as it seems, it's still really common. The most common types of check fraud that we see even today is someone has stolen a check that you have sent or that has been sent to you from your mailbox. They then take that and they either erase everything off of it and put in their information, or they will fit their name somewhere onto that check, and then they'll make that check that was supposed to be for $100 for $700, because they can just kind of get that 7 in there and make it look like it's supposed to be there. Now, obviously, the bank is going to try as hard as we can to protect you, but we need to make sure that you are also taking the steps to protect yourselves in those instances. So with that in mind, if you ever have to mail a check, mail it inside the bank. Don't do it. No, I'm sorry, not inside the bank. How would you do that? Mail it inside the post office. Make sure you are going inside to the post office and dropping that check off. Never leave it in a mailbox unattended. Criminals can take that information from your check, and they can even just get your account number and your routing number from there. They have your name, they have your address. Sometimes they even have your phone number. Way back when, people even used to put their driver's license numbers or their social security numbers on their checks. So all someone has to do is get that check and they can go and have a really good time on your dime. So we definitely want to make sure that we are not giving them that opportunity. If you have a situation where you must send or receive a check online or through the mail, again, make sure that that check is being mailed from within the post office. You want to make sure that you are using a black gel ink pen on that check because that is very hard to erase or wash off. And it's very hard to add characters in around it. So it is very obvious when something has been changed if you're using that black gel ink. You also can sign up for informed delivery through the US Postal Service. That'll tell you whenever you're getting something in the mail. It'll show you like a little image of what you're getting so you know you have a check waiting in the mailbox. Also, this is a really good time for me to plug your online statements. Make sure you're checking your statements monthly, logging into online banking, checking your accounts, your transactions. The best way to catch fraud is to be aware of what's going on with your accounts. Don't wait a couple of days, a couple of weeks, a couple months to review your accounts to see what happens. Because sometimes they'll come in for a penny or 10 cents or a dollar. And then once they've gotten a couple of those transactions through, then they go out, they drain your account, and it's done. So make sure that you're really being aware of what is coming through your account, whether it's using transaction alerts, logging in and looking at your transactions daily, or just checking that statement monthly. Another thing to keep in mind is that digital banking actually provides you another opportunity instead of sending or receiving a paper check. In some instances, you can just do an external transfer through digital banking. You can send someone a bill pay. You can even request that someone send you a transfer through online banking. So make sure that you're really stopping to think about the other opportunities for how you can get or send those funds besides just sending a paper check. Especially right now, with sometimes the mail has issues or sometimes something will get lost. It's just another way to protect yourself and make sure that you are getting those funds or sending those funds when you mean to send them. All right.
All right. Thank you so much, Jennifer. I really appreciate it. We've got just about 10, 15 minutes here to open up the Q&A if anybody has questions. I know we've got quite a few people on right now. I see one in there right now. Somebody asked, do I have to call the bank to change my password or username?
Yeah, great question. I'm glad you asked because you absolutely do not. You can change your password or username yourself through either the website or through the app. You can do it anytime, day or night. If you're someone like me who wakes up at 2 in the morning and is like, oh my God, I forgot something, I need to get on to digital banking. If you feel like changing your username and your password, go for it. Anytime, anywhere, it's there for you.
Awesome. And then I see one more that says, what is the first thing that I should do if I think that I've been scammed?
Great question. First thing you should do is stop. If you think someone has gotten access to your computer, like for instance, we have the Microsoft scam where you think Microsoft is talking to you through your computer and they're telling you that you've been hacked, stop. Turn off your computer, close it, get it to the nearest Best Buy or whatever technician that you trust. Get them to look at that computer, go through it, make sure anything that has been placed on that device to track you or to scam you has been removed. Next thing you want to do, contact any bank that you have access to using that device to let them know that you have potentially been compromised. They're going to go through your options. Do you need to close accounts? Do you just need to change usernames or passwords? You also want to stop and think about Would I do like your taxes on there? Do you store any sensitive information? Because if you have, you also might need to contact like your local credit bureau, get a freeze on your credit, or put an alert out there that there's potential for identity theft. But definitely contact your local bank. We'll walk you through all your steps. We know it's really scary. We know it's hard to think when that happens. So we're there to help walk you through those moments.
Awesome. Okay, and then one last question. Can I change my address online or in the app?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, with that password username, anytime you think of changing that information, log on to the website, log on to your mobile app, and you can change that information right then and there. It goes right back to the bank, so we'll be immediately updated. A good thing I'll add is that the bank also checks that that information has been changed, and we're looking to see, did you really change that? So you might get a phone call from us that says, "Hey, Jen, I noticed you changed your phone number online, or I noticed you changed your address online. Was that really you?" Just because something looked a little funny about that, we want to make sure that was really a legitimate change. So don't be scared if you get that phone call from us. We're just being a little extra safe.
Awesome. Okay. All right, I've got one more. I received an email that an antivirus software had renewed and I was charged $8.99. When I called the phone number, they directed me to a website. They gave me a code to enter. What were they trying to do? I didn't.
All right.
Don't use an antivirus software.
Yes. So that is going to be part of what we call our phishing. They were looking to see what they could get by dangling out their line and see what you would do. So anytime you get an email like that, they want you to click on something. They want you to call the number, because if you click on it, they gain access to your device. If you call the number, they're hoping that you are going to give them information that can help them log in to your online banking or into your app, or they're hoping that you're going to be scared and give them a payment over the phone. So definitely, anytime you get something like that, don't trust that, especially if you haven't signed up for that product. It's not legitimate. They send out those emails, those texts all the time, dangling their lines to see what they're going to get you to bite on.
All righty. If there's any last minute questions, feel free to throw those in there real quick. Just as a reminder, today's webinar has been recorded. So everyone who's registered for this, you all will get an email shortly, and we'll have the recording for this whole webinar if you need to watch back or if you missed any. I don't see any other questions coming through. If you do have any other questions, you can always email our digital banking team through our message center and our online banking, or on our mobile app, or also in person, any of our branches. I hope you'll use these tips that we talked about today. Take some time to look over all your devices, your passwords, make sure that all your information is protected. Thank you so much to Jennifer for providing all the information today. Thank you so much for everybody for joining, and we hope we'll see you on the next one. Have a good evening.
Bye, guys. Thank you.